Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another awesome podcast. This is episode 4. Awesome. And I'm George. This is Susie. And this is the I Know Right
podcast.
Yes. Awesome, guys. And if you are watching this, you can already tell it's going to be a special episode. But if you're not watching and you're listening, Susie, tell them why it's going to be a special.
It is a special episode this time. Cue like the after school special music. Okay? We will be having my personal training client, Julian. So if you follow me on social media, I post him quite often because we have fun while we're training. I've been training you a year or so, right? But it's all George. But anyways, enough about that, okay? I've been training Julian for about a year. We've become fast friends, and we wanted to have him on as a special guest. We've only had Lupe on as a guest before, and I really want to make the effort on having more people and different perspectives, and so we could all learn and have better dialogue overall with the different people that we encounter every day. Okay, so Julian's here, and as I mentioned, he's very special. We have been training for a year or so, etc. And Julian has not any news, but Julian is trans. Okay, so trans is not something that I really grew up being too familiar with. I didn't really even know what that term entailed, right? All of that stuff, and I'm sure a lot of people don't. I have become actually way more educated in the past year about it. But before then, I knew like a little bit. It was actually very confusing to me. I actually had to go on and like search some terms before and stuff like that. And when Jeff, who was a coach here, started training Julia, I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. I thought it was so cool that he was going to be training Julian. So I wanted to learn like all about it without being too, prideful into their relationship, because obviously when you are training someone, you become very close with them. It is a very intimate relationship, actually. So that's at least how I take it. So Julian, please give us a little, what's up with you?
Well, like, to add on to what you said, I really didn't know much about it either. Like, especially in high school and stuff, I didn't know anyone that was transgender.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I was like 19 that I really started thinking about it, and it was because one of my friends had brought it up. But I was really scared.
Okay, hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit, okay? Because I have never asked Julian questions like this. Have I?
No.
I don't like to pry with people. If you want to share your experience with me, whatever. I mean, I share. Right? Julian comes in, I'm like, guess what? Julian comes in, I'm like, guess what happened 7 minutes ago, and then 17 minutes ago, and then 7 hours ago. Like, I'm going to share. Because as I mentioned, I really take my personal training clients very intimately. Like, they become, like, part of my family. For example, we just went through an open workout today, and I knew Alana would not be able to be judged by anyone else. I know her intimately. You know what I mean? I know Julian intimately. All the people that I have had under my care, that's how I treat them. And so I don't like to pry. Like, if you share, like, I am all in. But then I feel comfortable to share myself about my life. So when you say your friend brought it up, why did they bring it up?
They just came across somebody that was transgender on, I think it was Instagram at the time. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I started looking more into it. And I was like, I was lost. Like, I was down in the dumps. I wasn't working out. I wasn't going to school. I was poor.
I love that you brought that up. I was poor. I'm sure most 19-year-olds can relate.
But then as I looked more and more into it, I was like, like I was taking a look at my life and how I was in high school, how I was in grade school, even when I was younger. I remember this one time my grandfather got me a doll.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so upset that he got me a doll because everybody else got guns.
Okay.
And like,
how old were you?
I was like 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted a weapon too, you know. I wanted to shoot like the boys, but they made me feel like I was ungrateful for like not wanting this doll. So that was kind of like how I grew up.
That is such a Latino thing. Like, oh, they got you something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like you should be grateful. You could like not get nothing.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
But like I just wanted to play sports. I always wanted to hang out with the guys. I wasn't into like Barbies and stuff. Even in high school, like I wanted to play football, but I was too scared to. Like I was like, oh, they're gonna like knock me out. And I always felt uncomfortable when I would have to go into the girls' locker rooms to change for PE and stuff. So I was like, you know, maybe there's a reason for that.
What was the discomfort for? Like, what prompted for you to feel that? Like the room itself, the fact that girls were undressing, the fact that you would be undressing, like what?
I got undressed in the bathroom. Like I would get there early, I would get undressed, and I would try to make it out before everybody else. But I think it was just the fact of them changing in front of me. Yeah. Like I didn't feel like
felt disrespectful almost.
Belonged there. Exactly.
Right, okay.
I was like, so I would keep my head down. I wouldn't look up at all. Like I would keep my head down if they were in there at the same time, and I would like run out. And I was like, you know. So then I started thinking like, what would my name be? What would it be like? But most importantly, I was like, how would my family feel? So I was 19. I was thinking about that. And it took me 2 years before I would actually start transitioning.
Okay. Now, hold on, because we've unpacked a lot here. Okay? We've unpacked a lot. So when you say 19, it's not like that was a long time ago. You're only 25.
26.
26. Okay, so it's not like it's like, oh, that was 10 years ago or something like that. That was relatively not that long ago. So for you to, like, that was a pretty fast transition. I mean, because now that we know a little bit more about it and it's more in the, like, you start hearing about people transitioning when they're like 13 or 15, or they tell their parents, like, I am, you know, etc. Right? So your transition has been overall quick.
Yeah.
Right?
It has. And I feel like that would have been different had I been exposed to transgender people earlier. Okay. Like I would have figured it out a lot sooner. That would have helped me out a lot. But overall, you know, I'm glad I actually went ahead and did it, as opposed to just being afraid to. Because that was stopping me the most. I was afraid to start. I didn't know like where I was going to go with this journey, how far I was going to go. I know there's like surgeries involved and stuff. And
yeah, that's tough. That's tough. So, Julian, you are a person of color.
Yes.
Okay, you're half Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah.
Half black. And so in these nuclear families, I mean, my mom, honestly, she'd flip. You know what I mean? Like, my mom would flip. My mom would flip because my mom would see it like, it's like an anti-religious thing. But she would also be like, your life's going to be hella hard now if you do this. And you know what I mean? Whatever. And so how did you explain this to, like, your mom, your grandparents? Because you've been raised by a single mom.
Yeah. I was sitting in my room one morning. I had made the doctor's appointment to go talk to them about getting the testosterone without my mom knowing.
Okay.
But I was also afraid because I was like, I don't know what effect it's going to have on my health, you know. So I went into her room and I was like, this is going to happen. This is what I'm doing. And you could take it or leave it.
Whoa.
Like, you could support me or you could not support me. I was 21, you know, And I was like, I got to stop being scared. I have issues with boundaries.
Same.
But with this, I was like, I just got to do what's best for me. So,
wow.
and she was like, okay. She was like, I just want to be there when the doctor talks to you because I want to know the health risks. I was like, okay, that's fine. I wasn't expecting that reaction, to be honest. I didn't think she was going to be as cool, but I mean.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really awesome. Yay for Chris.
My grandparents, not so much. I was having a hard time in the beginning with them. Even now, they still say like she, her.
No, they don't.
Mamita. But it's like
stop.
They'll catch themselves and then they'll apologize. But like I'm already like cringing inside. And it's not like I'm gonna stop talking to them because I love them with all my heart. But it's just hard talking to them sometimes. So.
All right. So we've established like the beginning. Okay. I'm going to take a little step back because I think something that a lot of people don't know about is like the whole pronoun thing. And how do you connect, and also like how do you talk to a person that has transitioned? I did research. So we had actually one of Angela's first consulting clients. She owned the first completely gay gym in San Francisco, and she came to visit once. And so I thought that was such an awesome concept. Like, whoa, so I would like follow her on Instagram, and she one time posted this thing about she had a straight woman in her gym, and the woman had offended a couple of people in the gym because she was calling them by not their correct pronoun and all that stuff. So that's when I was like, yeah, that's what I want to know, right? And as I've been decolonizing myself and going into more of a, indigenous Mexican groups and learning from like healers and stuff like that, people are very, very open about letting you know their pronoun. And like, to me, it's like, well, it's a girl. You don't have to tell me you're a girl. You don't have to tell me that it's she, her. But at the same time, it is something that needs to be cleared up. So how do you feel is the best way for someone to approach someone that maybe they're not familiar with, or they don't know their pronoun and all that stuff?
I would say, like, if you have any doubt, like if you're like, I'm not 100% sure, then ask them what their pronouns are. They like won't be offended or anything like that. They'll tell you, and then you could just go based off of that. And even like calling people they, them. Bella has a friend in school. Her friend goes to Trinity, it's an all-girls school, but they go by they, them. So a lot of the teachers have a hard time. They call them she and stuff like that. Bella's strategy when talking about this person is just to call them by their name. So she doesn't slip up. She'll just say this person's name over and over again, And I was like, that's a pretty good idea. If you're not sure, just call them by their name.
Yeah. So that's what this woman, the gym owner, had said. That's what she was explaining, because she literally went on like Instagram Live, and I'm like, this was so educational. She's like, if you have any doubts, just call people by their name. Don't assume they're a he or a she or anything. That's the safest way. And I was like, okay, that's perfect, because I did not know at that time, whatever it was, like 2 or 3 years ago when this happened. Because I was like, that's around the time that I started going to different types of seminars, learning about like herbs and stuff like that, where it was like very prevalent, people announcing their pronouns. Okay, cool. So that was educational. Thank you, Julian.
Okay, I have a question. So this recently just happened. So let's say you don't know the person, you don't have the opportunity to know their name or to do anything like that. You say, like, if it's just a random stranger, and so for instance, me and Stephanie, we were at Target, we're buying a TV, and this person comes to us and see, this is why I'm gonna say she because she looks like a she, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a man.
Okay.
But and I was like talking to Stephanie, and I was like, oh, well, she said this one, but you know what I mean. And I felt wrong saying it because I didn't know, you know, the person. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what she wanted or he wanted to be called by. You know, so I didn't know. So in that instant, would I tell that person like, or better to say they?
I would just ask them, you know, just to be respectful.
Right.
And they'll tell you what their pronouns are. You know, a lot of times they appreciate that more than you just assuming. So if you're not sure and you ask them, you know, they'll go home later and be like, well, that was a good day at work. You know, there was at least one person that didn't assume what I was, and they took the time out of their day to ask me.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually very true, Julian. Yeah, that brings a lot of clarity, honestly, because these are the things that most people don't know. And like your grandparents are still calling you she, and it's because they just don't know. We are living in a system where it's been very ingrained in us to have gender norms, right? Boys get guns, girls get dolls. Boys wear blue, girls wear pink, and then there's nothing in the middle. Right? But it has really come to be known, like there is so much gender fluidity on top of the fact that people are trans and that they are not what maybe in our gender normed mind, because that's just how we've grown up, especially in houses of people of color, where it's also like wrong if you're anything that's not like in this little bubble. So yeah, that brings a lot of clarity.
Going straight to hell. A lot of households.
Yeah, that's so terrible. That's so terrible. So, okay. So, let's talk about surgery-wise. Like, how many surgeries have you had? How did the testosterone affect you? Like, did you start seeing change right away? I want to know all those things.
I started transitioning in May of 2016. And like, I mean, this is like weekly testosterone injections, and I didn't see any change until like maybe 3 months after that.
Wow.
Where I started to sound like a teenage boy. My voice was cracking, you know.
No way, really?
Yeah, it was really bad. And then at the time I was working at Menards. Shout out to Menards. And like I was wearing a binder. That's what a lot of trans guys wear to flatten their chest. And they all knew me before I started transitioning. So they knew me as a woman. I was too shy to tell anybody. I keep to myself for the most part.
Julian's shy.
And I remember this one time I dyed my hair blonde. And
why?
Midlife crisis.
Okay, no. Please don't do it again. But go ahead. Wait.
I dyed my hair blonde, and a couple of the workers were talking to me, and they were like, the one was like, oh, you're trying to look like Fantasia, or I was like, you know, like I rolled my eyes, and then the other one was like, nah, like at the time he was like, she's trying to look like Chris Brown. I was like, that's exactly what I was going for. I'm trying to look like Chris Brown. But that stuck with me, you know, and my voice was changing. They all thought I had a cold for like 2 months before I got run over.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but go ahead.
And like at that time, what I wanted the most was top surgery. I wasn't too concerned about bottom surgery, but the top surgery was most important because I had like 40 double D's. Like it was, and
blessed.
Yeah. when I was binding, I would push them so far to the side to make my chest look even smaller.
So it just makes you look bigger, essentially, right?
Yeah. So I would like keep my arms down all the time because like literally like all the package was underneath my arms, and I I would be afraid to raise my arms, stuff like that. And um, but then I got into my accident, and I put on a bunch of weight, you know. And a lot of the major changes, so the facial hair, the body hair, it came, but I didn't get the satisfaction of enjoying it and like having other people outside watch me change, you know,
Because you were
because
laid
I
up.
was bedridden.
So let's talk a little bit about the accident because it was pretty severe.
Yeah.
And I only know really about it through Jeff because he was like, "Oh, blah 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 accident." I'm like, "Whoa!" Like I was just so interested in Julian, honestly. But so go ahead, tell everybody what your accident was.
So I got run over by a forklift in Menards. Well, it ran over my foot.
I once hit a forklift because I didn't see it with my car.
Not the same, guys. We just want to let you know that.
I literally didn't see it, and the guy was like, "You didn't see me?" He's like, "No, it was like a head-on collision." I didn't see it. It was a head-on collision, but whatever. I didn't see it. Okay, go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, I was taking my my lunch break, and my grandparents had brought me some McDonald's. So I'm walking into the building, and one of the workers had caught my attention, like over to the left. So like I turned my head for a split second, like mid stride, and then the forklift came from the right and caught my foot.
No.
Yeah, and
How painful was that?
I thought my foot had exploded.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I was like hopping around on one foot, and then I couldn't stand up anymore. And I sat down, and like everybody's surrounding me. They're like, are you okay? Are you okay? You know, we should take off your shoe. I was like, nobody's touching my shoe. I had no idea what
was in there.
What was in there.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not about to look at my foot, you know. And then the ambulance came, and they took me away. They took off my shoe, and it was like the size of a football, but all my toes were still there. So I was like, okay, that's a win. And
It basically flattened it, right?
yeah, it flattened it, and then it just started to puff up really bad.
Yeah.
And
It's like when you make a tortilla.
no.
Oh man.
And then I remember cracking jokes in the ambulance while I was crying at the same time, because they were like, oh, like, how are you feeling? What's the pain scale? And I was like, I'm a little disappointed, to be honest. They're like, why? Like, are you okay? I'm like, well, I didn't get to eat my McDonald's.
Oh my God.
And they started laughing, but then like the seriousness set in, and they were like, oh, you know, we're on the job right now. Let's not laugh at his pain. But I ended up with complex regional pain syndrome.
Okay.
And I was getting a ton of nerve injections in my back until finally they were like, you know, we can't keep giving you these. So they put the spinal stimulator in there.
So it's a little box.
Yeah, it's like a little battery that goes underneath the skin. Has a battery life of 5 years. So every 5 years, I would have to get it changed.
So it's in his back.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that when I'm like training Julian, these are things that I have to take into account. He has some imbalances because of his foot, and there's a lot of things that we can do, like a bunch of wall climbs, because of his simulator in his back.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling those wall walks.
So that was a major accident, and so you were laid up for how long?
For a couple of years.
Yeah.
For a couple of years. I think it wasn't until like my second round of injections that I like started practicing walking at the physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, we really need to get this started, because I'm like almost 300 pounds. I'm not doing anything. Like I was navigating around my house by like scooting down the stairs on my butt, and then I would like hop on one foot to go to the bathroom. I would hop on one foot to go clean the dishes, because I was like, let me do something, until I started being able to walk, you know. And even after I got the stimulator, they were like, you know, you probably won't be able to run. You can't lift more than 30 pounds.
Lies.
Yada, yada, yada. I was like, well, I'm going to see what I can do. And that's why I ended up coming here, because I was just going to export. And I was like, let me see what else I could do. I thought CrossFit was easier than working out at export. I was misled.
You thought CrossFit would be easier than export, Julian. Were you right?
God, no. No, it was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. But I liked it so much more. Like, I was, first of all, like, surprised at how much stuff I couldn't do. Like, when I walked in here. But it was, like, straight after getting the stimulator, going back to physical therapy. And then I was with Jeff.
And shout out to Jeff. We won't even talk about what happened earlier. Shout out to Jeff. We love you.
And he taught me a lot, you know.
He did. Jeff's awesome.
He definitely taught me a lot. He got me halfway up the rope climb, and then you got me the rest of the way.
What's up, Jeff? Teamwork.
He helped me to do my first wall walk, stuff like that. But I mean, it's not just about the exercises. Like, I've learned so much from you guys, nutrition wise, even like mental, emotional. Like, I feel like I come here for therapy.
Don't we all?
More than just working out.
I mean, I just feel like you pay for my friendship.
I do.
That's how I feel about all my clients, honestly.
I love it so much. Like, I could live here.
Yeah. It's
Get me a
awesome.
cot, put it over there.
You know what? That's how people feel. Like, that's how I felt. I'm like, I could just be in this place 24/7, you know?
Yeah. In the export, I was by myself working out with headphones in my head 24/7. Over here, it's more of like everybody knows each other. It's like a family. And I love that. Pushing each other, even though, like, I've only done one class because George made me.
More to come.
So you found OCF, and he's doing freaking awesome. He got his first pull-up last summer, obviously before COVID, or like after COVID. He got up the rope. There's a highlight on my Instagram where I'm like, just touch it. Oh my God, I was so frustrated. It was like 3 weeks, but I was just like, just touch the top. But anyway, enough about my memories. And you're doing awesome, right? Like, you have more of a routine. You live more of a healthy lifestyle. You do active things with, like, your sister and your mom. You really promote for them to be healthy as well. Your sister now does virtual. She's 16, and she's doing the open. Like, she's such a freaking awesome little chick. Go get her. You know what I mean?
She's really dope,
Yeah,
and
she's
she loves
awesome.
it.
Yeah, and she's awesome, right? And I really feel that has most of all to do with you, because being a good influence and everything, right? She also makes an awesome charcuterie. Okay.
It really is.
And Mark, today, as you said, you just hit your goal weight, right? You said?
Oh, yeah. My first goal weight, 245 pounds.
And that's your goal that you wanted to hit, right?
Well, it's my first goal. Like,
Okay.
I set up miniature goals. So it was from 267. I wanted to go to 245. Then it's 240, 235, 230, and then the last one is 200.
Nice. So you hit your first goal today, Mark, on our video day, on our episode day. Yes, nice. So that's awesome.
Awesome. Really good. Thanks to George's Meals. Okay. Good. You're so awesome, George. Thank you. I thank you too. So what are some things that you are looking forward to? Because even though you live this awesome life, I really think it's an awesome life, right? Like, you don't have to work because you got that money from that accident, you know? But it's not like you're just laying around. Like, you help your mom who has cancer.
Kidney failure.
She's waiting for a kidney.
Yeah.
You help her with dialysis. You're the man of the house.
Basically.
He is the man of the house. Good thing you transitioned.
Yeah, I know.
Because he is the man of the
Somebody
house.
had to do it, you know?
And, they really depend on you, right? So it's not like he's just like sitting at home. He is the man of the house for his mom and his sister. But on top of that, like, you come here 4 times a week minimum. You eat healthy. You're active. You take care of your body. You see your doctors. You go to the chiropractor. You do all that stuff, like, regularly, right?
Yeah.
What challenges do you face now as a trans man in your daily life, right? Because a lot of people don't know you're trans. Mm-hmm. Now it's like people don't know that you were not Julian before.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, what challenges do you face now?
I guess the only 2 big challenges I have are dating, because I've never dated anyone since before I transitioned, and honestly using the bathroom in public.
Got it.
Like, I was going to Jewel, I think, like a couple weeks ago,
yeah, I remember you
and I
told me.
came here instead to use the bathroom. There's just like such an anxiety with using a bathroom because I can't stand up to pee, obviously. I mean, I can, it's going to get messy. But there's been like a couple of times where I go out to bars and stuff and I have to use the bathroom, and I'll walk into the bathroom crowded with guys, go into the one stall that they have, and the door doesn't lock.
Yeah.
So I'm like panicking, I'm drunk, and I whether it's 70 degrees or like 7 degrees, I go and I use the bathroom like outside in a bush, and that's probably like the hardest thing for me that I can't seem to figure out. And it's like something so simple. You should just be able to use the bathroom. I can't. No matter how hard I try, it just get in my head, and I'm like, I'd rather hold it and drive somewhere where I feel safe to use the bathroom than to just go outside.
Wow. I think that's like something I've never had to think about ever.
Yeah. There was this one time I couldn't hold it to go outside. And the guy's bathroom didn't even have a door on the stall. Like, it was
That's
open.
So weird.
I was like, what if somebody has to take a shit? You gotta take But I went into the woman's bathroom. I had a goatee. My friend went in there with me, and she was like holding the door. But then she had to run out to one of her friends, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm in this woman's bathroom by myself. I'm hearing all these people coming in. Like, when we first went in, it was just
empty.
like us.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing all these people coming in. I'm just sitting there panicked. I was like, oh my God, like, I have to go up, like, past everybody, wash my hands. I didn't wash my hands.
Just walked down.
Yeah. Don't worry, I washed my hands after that. But
You started Corona.
Since then, I've washed my hands. But I was like, excuse me, like running out of this bathroom, trying to make my voice as high pitched as I can. And I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. I hated life then. And even now, I try not to drink to the point where I'm going to have to use the bathroom right away.
It's tough.
Yeah.
That's
Can't
really
break
tough.
the seal, then it always goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does.
True that.
That is
Damn,
true.
that's crazy. Those are like little things that we don't really think about, like when we're, just going to the bathroom, right? So it's just kind of interesting to hear that perspective and to be able to know what you go through, and
Yeah.
to be able to hear that from you personally, because we don't think that that'd be too hard, but it obviously definitely is. And it's something that's
It really is.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, with like transphobic people, that's the argument they like to bring up the most. Like, oh, I don't want a guy using the
Correct.
woman's bathroom, or I don't want a girl using the men's bathroom. But it's mostly against trans women. So they're always like, I don't want a guy using the women's bathroom.
Right.
When in reality, people just have to use the bathroom.
Right.
Like they just have to pee. You know, it's not about them in there being predators, because somebody's going to be a predator no matter what.
Correct.
Nothing's stopping a man from walking in there
Correct.
and like grabbing your child.
And
why would you let your child go into the bathroom by themselves to begin with?
Right.
You know? But I don't know. They're just trying to use the bathroom. I'm just trying to use the bathroom. It's really not that serious.
Mm-hmm. So those are two major issues. And what about the dating? How do we feel about that?
I don't know yet. I'm still navigating around that.
Mm-hmm. So before transitioning, you dated girls.
Yes. And like, I mean, I'm still into girls, but dating apps aren't for me. I like to meet people in person, but then like, it's like, okay, when do I tell them I'm transgender? You know, because I don't want to say that right off the bat and have them judge me based off of that only.
Right.
And there's been times when I tell people I'm transgender, and they go from calling me he, him to calling me she, her.
No way.
Yeah. I'm like...
That quick?
I'm like, what?
Wow.
How did we even get here, you know? And then I'm like, oh, you know what? Forget it.
Yeah.
So one of my questions is like, there's probably apps that are like for that, right?
Yeah.
But is there so like reasons that like you go towards more like the other apps, you know, or is it just it makes you be part of that society or something, or what?
I've downloaded like all the apps.
Okay.
And it always comes down to the fact that like online, I'm boring.
Hella. I am too. I am too.
Like,
yeah. I am hella boring
you're
too.
not gonna get my personality from talking online, and I
Yeah.
get really bored.
Okay.
You know, and I a lot of times I stop talking to people.
Like Julian's texts, like with me, it's like we send TikToks and it's LMAO, 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 like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's it. And I like that because I really don't have much to text about with anyone. Like, and I imagine that's what Julian feels like. Like, I am obviously more colorful in person,
Same.
right? But if I meet you somewhere and we start texting, or if like I'm on an app and we start texting, I have nothing to say. Absolutely nothing. Zero. You're not getting any of this color through text.
Yeah, and that's what it's like. So I'm like, oh, forget it. You know, I think I told you I was going to meet people at the grocery store. I'm like, oh, let me grab that for you. You know? Oh, and what's your name? But other than that, I don't see myself meeting someone online. So again, it's just, when do I tell them I'm transgender? I don't know.
So what's the what would you say is the furthest that you've like gone? Like, have you met somebody? Like have you gone on dates? Have you like done that and like
Are we gonna talk about this?
what?
No, I know Julian's life, so it's up to Julian whether he wants to talk about
No, well,
this.
I mean, I don't know where we're going with this, but I just wanted to ask the question.
Well, like, yeah, do we want to do this? Because like it makes me so angry.
She probably won't see this anyway. But I was talking to this girl, and like we have been talking every day for a month. For me to talk to somebody every day, that's a lot. Because my life is busy. Normally, like, I'll text somebody, I'll put my phone down to the side, and I won't look at it for hours. Well, with her, I was checking my phone constantly. You know, I was replying, and I was getting to know her. And
Julian caught feelings.
I did.
Julian caught feelings, which I was actually I was proud of Julian for catching feelings. It's tough. It's tough when you have closed yourself off to the possibility, because I've done that too.
Right.
And so I was very proud of Julian for catching feelings. I really, really was. And he had some apprehensions. And I kind of made excuses for her. I was like, you know what? You know, blah, blah, blah. I was wrong. But it's not that I was wrong. It's not that I was wrong. It's that I was trying to have the best case scenario in mind.
Right.
Right? In my opinion, in my professional opinion, the problem isn't the fact that Julian's trans. It's more so Julian's age. Okay, I don't really feel that the problem is that Julian's trans and he's like, I can't find a girl because I'm trans and it's weird. I think it's the fact that obviously he's attracted to people around his age, which is like the 22 to 28-year-old range. And at that time, most people, and we've discussed this before, George, you don't really know yourself. And I can say with all certainty that if I met someone great at that age, I would have been like, whatever. Like, there's no way I was going to pay attention to that person because I, at that time, did not deserve someone great. And so Julian has a lot of things going on. Like, he's a busy person. He is financially, like, stable, to say the least. Okay? And he has a lot of stuff going for him. But, and obviously he is very sensitive. He's very smart. All this stuff. I know Julian. But, like, no girl, most girls at this age range are prepared for someone like this. They still need to go through the whole, like, guys that are not texting them backstage, guys that they're chasing stage, guys that are just, like, using them. Like, honestly, girls have to go through that stuff to figure out what's good and what's not.
So let me ask you now. I would feel like a woman is more, or girls are more, would be a little, not more open to it, but a little bit more, like,
to, like, dating dating a trans man? Yeah. I really don't know. I really couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either.
but I think that there are people out there for everybody. And I think that Julian can meet someone. I just feel that right now it's not the fact that Julian's trans that's stopping him. Okay. It's Julian's age.
Okay.
I don't know what's stopping me.
So finish the story. What happened? Well, what'd you do? You brought it. You brung it up or something, or?
Well, we had knew each other for a long time. Like, I knew her since high school, so.
Oh.
She already knew I was transgendered.
So he felt comfortable.
I was like, okay, well, that portion of it is out of the way. That's what
the biggest portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's but she's giving you.
They were talking. Yeah. They were legit talking. They were talking.
Like, I was getting a vibe, you know.
He was getting a vibe.
And
then she'd switch it up.
Dang.
We're getting way too personal. But then she would switch it up.
This is what we do on the podcast.
But then she would switch it up and be like, oh, okay, friend, or whatever, like in text. And so I defended her because I was like, you know what? Maybe that's how she flirts. I'm not, like, the best flirt either. You know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe she's not saying it because she really wants to be your friend. Maybe that's how she's flirting. Right. But Julian was getting mixed signals, in his opinion. And I'm like, just try it out, see what's going on, whatever.
Yeah.
And then she seemed a little bit more clear, and I was like, hey, let's go. Yeah. And Julian didn't just go. Julian, like, went. Like,
what the fuck?
We had, like, a conversation, and she had told, like, one of her coworkers about me, and she was like, oh, you should marry him, or yada yada yada.
No, she said I should marry him.
Oh yeah.
Right? She told her coworker that, so I was like, what's up? That's awesome that she said that.
Yeah, for sure.
That shows interest, that shows she likes you, all that stuff, right?
But I hadn't told her I liked her yet, so I took it upon myself to buy her a little gift and tell her that I liked her.
What was the little gift?
It was a Michael Kors bag.
That's not little.
Yes, it's not little, George. You've caught on.
Hold on.
That's not a little flex.
It gets worse. So, like, since everything's, like, virtual now, and you could, like, send a gift online, and you could add, like, a little card to it. And it was, like, a Valentine's Day gift also. So I was like, to the most beautiful Valentine's.
Oh, my God. It's a nice card.
I can't wait until I'm 35 because she said if she's 33 and I'm 35 and we haven't found anyone yet, we would get married.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I can't wait until.
Who says that, by the way? Like, who says that?
I don't know. But I was like, I can't wait until.
What do you
35.
mean? Everyone says that.
Yes,
you don't have that best friend where like, man, we're so cool together that if we're by the time we're 35, if we're not together,
I'm not trying to marry my friend. I've never done that. I have never done that. I've never done a best friend pact. Let's get married thing.
Yeah, why?
That's her showing like, ooh, I like you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, and then she was like, why did you get me this bag? And I was like, I like you, yada yada yada, but like if you want to be friends, I'll still be your friend.
Never give that option.
Nope. Cut it off.
Yeah, no, never give the option in text or in conversation.
And she didn't reply for like an hour.
Oh my God, I was coaching virtual New You Academy.
Jesus.
And then Julian's like, she hasn't text back, whatever. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like coaching, so I couldn't reply.
Yeah.
And then like when I finally replied, he's like, I sent her this, like, oh, if you don't like me the same, you could be friends. But and I'm like, what? I was like, no, you had to wait for my response. I was busy. I was so.
You should know her schedule, Julian. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
He did. He's like, oh, you're coaching. You're, he was like, he even said, he's like, oh, you're coaching virtual. That like gave him like the license in his brain to just full send his text.
Oh God.
And she didn't reply. She didn't reply. We both got all in our feelings, you and me. We did. And then she snaps him. This is like a very complicated story.
She sent
now.
me a Snapchat of like something
random, like just offsetting the whole thing.
But then she replies and she's like, I don't know what I want, I'm really confused right now. And I was like, what did I say? I think I just said okay, and then like a little while later I bought tickets for us to go to a drive-in movie theater. I was like, I figure if we hang out, get to know each other physically, because we still haven't really hung out yet. We FaceTime, we talk on the phone, but we haven't really hung out.
Because COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful, okay? So, like, he bought her cookies, he bought flowers, and she cancels.
Damn.
Yeah. So I brought
And Julian goes to the movie on his own, and I let him know that I'm at the gym. So he's like, okay, I'm on my way because she canceled. So he's on his way here. But he takes long, and I'm like, okay, like, why is he taking so long? He took long because he still went and freaking dropped off the flowers to her.
I did.
This could have been Susie's flowers.
No, I got the
They
cookies.
were Susie's cookies. Lady Gaga cookies.
Lady Gaga Oreos.
Ooh.
But anyway, so it's a challenge. It's a challenge to date.
Mm-hmm.
But like I mentioned, she's 23, 24, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's no way, Julian, that at that age anyone could appreciate someone great. It's an age issue. It's not a trans issue.
In the back of my head, though, I'm like,
sure, of course.
like there'll always be that. Well, maybe it is a trans issue.
But at the same time, I'm sure because you're in the community, you know plenty of people in relationships that have gone into relationships post-transformation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. It's people with like kids and stuff now.
Correct. So like it's not, there's someone out there for everybody. I truly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's not the issue right now. Maybe you need to do a little bit more internal work because you're not fully confident in yourself as a trans man, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? And we need to focus on that. And at the same time, it's this age. It's tough. It's tough to find someone, male or female. A male looking for a male looking for a female looking, like, it's tough because at this age, no one really knows themselves and they can't appreciate, like, a good thing. I know I didn't, George, you, like, at 23.
No, I did not.
No way. No way. It's so rare. Like when people tell me like, oh, I married my high school sweetheart, I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Like you're still together? Like
Yeah.
how? Like that surprises me because you have to go through so many growth spurts with that person.
Yep.
And at 23, there was no way. You think you want that. You think you want like the fairy tale and someone to be your partner, but you don't. There's no way.
I feel like, honestly, like, I feel like that's a person, if she was that open like that already, I feel like she just needs her time to come around.
Yeah, but he ain't waiting.
No. I'm not saying to wait. That's not what I'm saying, guys. You never wait. You go. But, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like, okay, you know what? If the feelings were really there, then you could wait it out. You know what I mean? And I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to go do my thing, and I'm going to, learn these waters. And if she's ready, she comes back. If I want her, then
Correct.
I feel like that's how it's played out. Somebody like that's lost, they just need to find their way and be like, okay, this is what I lost, and blah blah blah. So, but yeah, very very.
Yeah, we went through so many things with Julian right now, like childhood,
Unpacking
fitness,
a lot.
fitness, relationships, transformation, his accident. You're a very interesting person. A lot going on.
It doesn't seem like it sometimes. Sometimes I forget, and like I tell people, like, yeah, I got run over by a forklift. They're like, oh my god. I'm like, okay, For me, it just happened, So I'm just over that part of my life.
Dude, I have so many questions. It's not even.
Like what? Like
funny.
what?
Oh man, like there's so many that we've got.
Okay,
through. Well, we can't do it because it's literally gonna take hours, and we're already almost at our max.
No, ask one question.
One question. One question on that whole thing. So yeah, so if you noticed, I was just really quiet. I just really wanted to absorb everything and just kind of. I'm just like Susie. I just was very unaware and uneducated, on this whole thing. Pronouns and visually and stuff like that, and like just hearing you talk, and it was like why were you like, it was just like little things that you were saying too, like it was just like why were you mad that you got a doll, and stuff like that, and then I'm just like thinking like, oh, because they don't like dolls and shit like that, and then, but anyways, yeah, so if I had one question, the only thing I would so yeah, this is why I didn't do a lot of talking. I wanted to do like a disclaimer before the video started, because like I am so like what's the word, very ignorant. Is it ignorant?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess ignorant to like the or naive. Yes, thank you, naive. I'm very naive to the.
You are naive, but you are also ignorant. On this subject, I can honestly say I was supremely ignorant on this subject like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now I know a little bit more, and thank God. Like honestly, like the universe always works in my favor, because I used to have these conversations with people like I don't know about this stuff. Yeah. And Julian literally walked in this door. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because otherwise I would still be very ignorant to it. So it's okay to be ignorant on some things. It's not a terrible thing. The problem is if you stay in that ignorance. Like education. That's why I really wanted to bring Julian on, because I feel it's important. In this section of our world, Elmwood Park, Melrose Park, Franklin Park, North Lake, like Cicero. Do you know what I mean? Like,
or being Latino in general.
Yes, like you don't really know about that stuff. Like no one in my family's trans. Like no one I grew up with is trans. So I couldn't know like what those feelings were like or anything like that. There are a couple of things growing up that made me aware of trans, being a Latina, Latino, Latinx, Latine, because those are all different things too. There's two things that made me aware of trans life, trans culture, and I'm very grateful to these two things, because otherwise I would have absolutely not known anything. The first one would be the movie I Like It Like That. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's a great movie. Lauren Velez is in it. If you've never, John Seda, who is famous for playing Chris Perez and Selena, too cute. And he is now on like Chicago PD or Chicago, one of those shows, whatever. It is a story more so about her being like with her high school sweetheart, her getting pregnant and having all these kids with her mans, and their relationship being Puerto Rican, Dominican in New York in the Bronx, right? But her sister is trans. And I remember being a kid and watching this movie. And I watched this movie because my sisters were in love with John Seda, the guy that plays Chris Perez, because he's really cute. And so we watched this movie all the time. But I remember just thinking how that's so odd. You know what I mean? To me that was odd. And then the relationship of the fact that their father did not approve of this and would beat her up, right? Even though she was an adult woman trans. And the guy that plays the guy is Jesse Borrego. He's a really famous actor. He's in all any Latino movie that exists, he's in it. So to me that was just whoa, there's people out there that don't feel like they're in their own right body and they try to live life different. And in the Latino culture, family, that's not going to be accepted. And her dad would get super mad. And honestly, the dad didn't even come out until it came to them. But I really recommend this movie. It's called I Like It Like That. It's so 90s. It's such a good movie. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know if I don't think you guys are about this life, but there's a song, it's salsa and vallenato cumbia style, and it's called El Gran Varón.
I know it.
Okay, if you don't, en el verano del 73, right? So this song used to always come on early Sunday mornings when my mom would put on music for us to clean and stuff like that. And this song would come on and it affects me. And the other day there was a TikTok about it. I should have sent it to you, where somebody was if you don't know these lines, you're too young for me or something like that. And I'm oh my God, El Gran Varón, whatever. So the song is telling a story, and those are my favorite types of songs.
Yeah. And
it's basically telling the story of this boy being born into a family that was really wanted. The dad was really happy he had a son, right? And then Gran Varón, meaning the real masculine boy, right? And it tells you the story as he grows up, and the dad has all these dreams from him to be just like him. And he goes off to college, and he basically trades his masculinity for now wearing a dress and using a purse. And the dad visits by accident, without announcing, and catches the son being a woman. He didn't even recognize her.
Yeah.
And so he's shunned from the family and he's expelled from the family. Yeah. And then that song goes on to be more sad, but those two things, without those two things, I really would not know anything about anything. And I feel they were very educational. So if you just pay attention to those little things, it's always been something that interested me, because no one chooses to live a harder life. I'm hyping up Julian, but at the same time, it's not his life's easy. He can't even go to the bathroom.
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite songs too. And that was when I told my grandmother, that was the first thing she brought up. She's oh, the song, And I was yeah, kind of.
My bird's name is Simon, after Simon.
Yeah.
Because the song's Simon,
No me conoce, yo soy Simon.
Yeah.
Simon tu hijo, el gran varón.
That's good. Yes, that's exactly it. That's
nice.
Exactly it. So it's a song that really puts it into light, and it's basically saying you can't correct something that is already right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we all try to do as people, right? We're always trying to be oh, what's going to happen in the future, right? Because we're trying to foresee how we're going to approach it. Oh, I want my kids to be this way. Oh, I want my, et cetera, to be that way. But you can't control these things, and you can't correct them either.
Right.
And like I said, it's not anyone chooses to live a harder life. And at the same time, we need to show a little bit more compassion. I think that's why this episode's so important, because we're just especially Latinos, I'll say it openly. My aunts will be oh, they're just greedy. That's they're just they could just change who they are, blah blah blah.
Right,
but it's
right.
no, it's actually very complicated. It's very complicated, and not only is it very complicated, but they're living an internal battle all the time because it's tough, and no one would choose that. I want the easiest life ever, right? And I'm sure that's what most people want. But
it's hard because in the Latino culture, like I have my daughter, right, and then she's growing up with two her cousins, right, and they're almost the same age, and like her grandmother buys them like things like like a cool like a bear thing that's like something, and then they give the daughter like a pink flower thing, and you know me like, why didn't she get that cool ass bear thing, like, and I'm just like just because she's a girl, like they gave her that, and like, but she probably wants to play with that. And that's what that was when there were so many questions around this that we'd probably have to bring you back on, because I have tons of questions on that. And so like when you said like I wish I was more exposed to this stuff, in the beginning, and I know that's like a something that in the Latino culture, like we're scared as people, like, oh, if we give him or her a gun, she's gonna grow up to be a boy, or if we give her a skateboard or something, like, oh, she's gonna grow up to be a guy, like stuff like that. So for me, like, how do you think we should, like me, like we've grown up and we've showed Dahlia that like we love to dress her like a tomboy, and like, just like, and like her grandparents give her grandmother.
She dresses like me.
Yeah, well, I mean, like she's more I would feel she's more boyish on that end. But like her grandma's always like, why don't you put your dresses on her? Why don't you put this on her? And so I would like, how do you? So this is one of my questions. Yeah, how would you like expose that to a child? And like not be fearful of like, okay, I'm sending her in this direction.
Really quick though, Bella, when she was little, I used to cut her hair like a boy and dress her like a boy. And like her grandma was like, what the heck? And she'd come back with like bows. And I'd be like, she'd be like, why do you cut her hair so short? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like she looks cute with short hair.
Yeah. Like,
but I used to dress her like in blue and yellow.
Yeah, like blue stuff, like, like, or like she doesn't have to wear pink all the time, or something like that. Or like, it's just something that I don't like.
And now Bella only wears pale pink like every single day.
Right.
That's all she wears. But
that's like you said.
Because I literally was putting her in blue.
But that's like but that's exactly what you said. Like you were saying, nature corrects itself, and that's just how it goes.
I mean, that's true. I was like, it should be cute as a little boy. Yeah.
So that's my question. Before, like, there's so many questions that I have. Like, we'll do like a lot. A lot. But like, how would you help like expose? Like, is that okay? Like, just giving them things like that.
Yeah, I guess it's hard because there's like not a lot of representation out there, like especially in the media and movies, stuff like that. I mean, you could sit her down to watch RuPaul Drag Race.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I don't like
RuPaul. Binge watch it. No, but it's really tough. And I remember like listening to Katy Perry, I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. And like my family would switch it off right away as soon as it came out.
Okay.
So they were trying to shelter me from something so like simple,
Yeah, that's too much. When you do too much,
I love to like girls anyway.
when you do too much, that's the issue. I like my sister and her. I don't know if she's gonna watch this, but my sister and her husband, like, they have twins, a boy and a girl. And so like Gia, I love her. She's no secret, she's my favorite. So she gets a lot of stuff from me. But like Junior will be like, oh, like I want to play with the makeup, and they'll like flip. And I'll be like, I don't care. Like he's putting on this makeup right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I want to be respectful to them as parents, but at the same time, it's like you doing so much, it's like unnecessary.
Right.
He just wants to play with his sister.
Yeah.
Like we don't know anything right now.
And that's so hard too when you have like Dahlia's little cousins. You know what I mean? Their father is super machisto, and like and it's like like we can't even buy the kids pink or anything.
Yes, correct.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just, or like like the other day they're mentioning something like, oh, that's too girly. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and that's something that
they always do that. Like, no, you can't do that. That's for girls. Junior.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't want.
Like that drives me
just giving
nuts.
them that freedom to just play with what they want, wear what they want, not watch what they want. Like if she's small, you monitor it. But
unfortunately, it is doing that, and so that's why I'm happy, because George does have a very young daughter that he's getting educated right now. But like I always told the girls, like, "Are you sure you're not lesbians? I'm okay with it." I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I still ask. I'm like, "Are you sure I'm okay with it?" And they're like, "No, we're not." You know, but I'm, you know, just allowing them to be themselves. That's hard. There's a lot of things about the girls and the stuff that they like and the stuff that they do that I do not approve of or like. But at the same time, as long as it's not causing anyone any harm, you have to do it, right? Again, we can correct something.
Yeah.
Because they will do it either way. It's either going to be you know about it, or they're going to do it behind your back.
Right. So you might as well be on their team.
Exactly.
And just kind of like help them on that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just wanted that was my question. I just wanted to know, like, you know, like, because there's a certain point, like, you're being a parent or you're letting them live their life. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you stop it, or sometimes you're just like, oh, okay, so that's what that looks like. Let me go ahead and let them pursue that, you know? Or, like, don't jump off that bridge, you know? But, like, because that's dumb. But, you want to wear that, then that's cool, you know? Yeah, since we're on this already and we're already running long, I don't give a fuck. So my next big question is, my next big question was, sorry guys for the long episode, but we'll cut it after this one. So my next big question is, so there's this big deal going on with transgender, and because we're all in the fitness realm and we all love CrossFit and everything like that. There's this big deal going on, and I don't know how I feel about this neither, because it's interesting, right? We're all athletes here, so as an athlete, how that thing that's going on where trans women are going into male sports and trans men are going into women's sports.
You know what he means.
Yeah.
So, or I don't know what. I don't know what it is.
It's reversed.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
trans men going into male sports.
That's how my mind works.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. You get me. Hopefully, you understand what I'm saying. And how do you feel about that, or what do you think about that?
Here's the thing: like, a lot of times it's kids wanting to play high school sports that causes the biggest problems. But it's not like they could start a league of their own. Like, there's not gonna be like 20 trans people in one high school. There's probably gonna be like 2 or 3. You can't play a sport with that. And for trans women, they take testosterone blockers. They take estrogen. Like, I think it's almost every day, you know. So their levels are of a cis woman. And my levels of testosterone are that of yours or his. So it's not like they have any advantage, you know. And somebody made a good point. Like, somebody's playing basketball in high school, and like, it's a cis woman. She's 6 feet tall. She's a monster, you know. Like, kudos to her. But then you replace her with a 6 foot tall trans woman, and all of a sudden it becomes a problem, because she has the stigma where she will always be a man, and people can't see past that. So,
well, the argument is, like, biologically, right? It's a man. And so for the longest time I was just like, well, because I didn't know about, like, the hormonal intake and replacement and all that stuff. Because it's like, now, like, in the Olympics, like, what happens? What do we do? Or whatever. But I will say, like, there are a lot of regular cis women who have, like, a disproportionate amount of testosterone. I know women like that come here to this gym, that I know for a fact, because I know the science. They're just born with more testosterone than estrogen. That make more testosterone than estrogen. And I'm sure it's probably the same. I just know how to look for it in a woman. I know it's probably the same for a man to carry more or not as much testosterone as a regular cis man. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're like, this girl lifts fucking heavy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But, like, she lifts so heavy. And you're just like, how is this even possible? I know it's possible because we're not perfect beings. Like sometimes we're gonna have a little bit more, a little bit less. I didn't ask to be born with little arms, you know what I mean, to make me better for like pushing or pulling in gymnastics. That's my advantage, you know what I mean. And so some women naturally have a lot of testosterone. Some males make naturally less, and so now I do know that there's like a hormonal intake for transgender people. But I think that yes, that's the stigma, right? Like, oh, he's trying to, be the fastest freaking runner up. He's no matter what, he's a girl, right? Like, oh, okay, they're trying to go in Olympic weightlifting, and yeah, of course they have of course she has the best snatch because she's actually a dude. You know what I mean? So that's the stigma that I see more so being in the field that comes into question. So what do you feel about that? Because now it's not just like the high school realm. It's Olympics, CrossFit Games, etc. It's Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, like all those things. How do you feel?
At the end of the day, everybody's putting in the work. Mm-hmm. Everybody's putting in the effort. They're not just going to go there and be good at something. They have to work for it. Mm-hmm. While taking the testosterone blockers, while being on hormone therapy, taking the estrogen. And it's definitely not easy. And while they're doing that, I'm sure in the back of their minds, they're like, I'm going to compete and everybody's going to see me as a man. Nobody's going to see me as a woman. So they're having that internal battle also, which makes it 10 times harder mentally.
Mm-hmm. See, it's kind of similar. I shouldn't compare it, honestly, but like doping in Olympic weightlifting is a huge thing. The United States, it's the only place that's regulated where you cannot take anything. You're always tested. And the last 3 or 4 Olympics where testing has come later, like they'll take a sample for the Olympics, but they don't have the technology to test for the steroid or whatever until like a year or so later that the people get their medals taken away. At the same time, it's not like I could just give Julian a bunch of whatever and be like, okay, go to the Olympics. You still have to know how to snatch and clean and jerk. Yeah. And that's the main thing. You know what I mean? You still need to have those things in play before considering. Mm-hmm. Oh, obviously you don't want to cheat because that is a cis male taking more, right? More hormones to make them even more male, strong hormones or whatever. And Matt Fraser was actually talking about this on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's like, yeah, like we get tested all the time. Overseas, they don't get tested. They promote steroids. He's like, but at the same time, like you still need to be like a good lifter to win, whether it's steroids or not.
And people will be like, oh, like you take testosterone, you could put on muscle faster, you could lose weight faster. But my levels are that of yours and that of yours. I don't have any advantage besides the fact that I'm coming in here 4 or 5 times a week. I'm putting in the work. That's why I'm putting on the muscle. I'm not being lazy, I bought an assault bike for my house so I could ride the bike. I'm doing everything I can. It's not just the testosterone that I'm injecting myself with once a week. And it's the smallest amount.
Yeah. Like when I was really into like whatever, and I used to take all the vitamins to promote my testosterone. I'll tell you guys what that is.
I took testosterone pills. I was like, maybe that will. That was before I went to any doctor. Like I was just downing these pills to see if I could transition myself, but I couldn't. And I was like, I'm gonna like ruin my liver.
Yeah, correct. All right, well, Julian, this has been a very, very enlightening convo. A bunch of stuff I never asked you before, so that was good. Except the relationship stuff that I knew. But all right, really, really cool. So where can people follow you on Instagram? Because he is a bit of a transgender influencer.
Julian Xavier, Julian with 2 N's. And yeah, that's it.
And
You can
that's
find
on
him here at the gym.
Instagram.
On IG. You can find me here, O'Hare CrossFit, 4 days a week.
Yeah, that's true. Doing the open, in the open.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Okay. All right. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another awesome episode. Hopefully, it'll top this one. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can.
All right, guys. Till next time, we are going to say goodbye. Peace.
Bye.